lot of things I probably won't remember.
Oh, it's okay. All right. This is an interview with Angelo DeMicco at his home in Mechanicville, New York, the 21st of May, 2003, 10 a.m. The interviewers are Mike Russert and Wayne Clark. Could you give me your full name, date of birth, and place of birth, please?
My full name is Angelo Bernard DeMicco. Place of birth, Mechanicville. And I was born the first month, the 29th day, 1925.
Okay, thank you. Where did you go to school, and what was your school background before entering military service?
Well, I was in the home and hillside school. In the homes, I went to St. Coleman's home first. After the 10 years there, they shipped me to hillside school. Now, hillside school, I went 3 years of 3 years of high school. Then I came here to Mechanicville, and they backtracked a year. And there I had 1 year at Mechanicville, and then I had to get out of there. I went to start going to work, and I went to try to get a job and go to work. I quit 3 years of high school.
Okay. Where were you, and what was your reaction when you heard about Pearl Harbor?
When I heard about Pearl Harbor, I was working, I think, no, I wasn't working in a commercial. Where the heck was I in Pearl Harbor? I was out of a job, looking for a job or something like that. But when I heard about it, right away I asked a buddy of mine, says, they're going to start drafting and stuff like that, or you could volunteer. So me and my buddy Johnny, who's dead today, Johnny Zulu, and we went down and volunteered when we heard about that.
Okay, so
we were 17 years old.
Instead of drafting.
Well, we were 17 years old and tried to get in December of 42, December of 42. But they wouldn't take us account. They had to wait 1 more month for my age. They took Johnny, but they didn't take me because I was only 17. But I was 18 in January, and then I volunteered anyhow.
Okay. So why'd you pick the Army instead of another branch of service?
Just wanted the Army, that's all.
Okay.
My brother Tony, he tried the Navy, or first the Marines. They wouldn't take him because he had his slant eyes like this. And he went that, and he wouldn't take him because they thought he was Japanese. Honest to God, this is true. And after that, he went to the Navy, or the Army. Then they wouldn't take him in the Army. They finally took him in the Navy, and he spent 40 years. He became Master of Arms and everything there. Then he went in the Army for 26 years.
Wow.
When he got out, that's when he was a professional fighter. He spent through 4 years professional fighting.
Now, where did you go for your induction and your basic training?
I went for the induction in Camp Shanks in New York. And then for my basic training, I went down to 78th Division was in North Carolina. I forget the name of the camp now. Jeez.
And
that was a lightning division, the 78th had a lightning patch.
So you were with the 78th Division?
78th Division in North Carolina. Camp Butner, North Carolina.
Okay, and what kind of training did you receive there? Any specialized training? Or?
No, I just infantry trained mostly. Or then I learned how to shoot the guns. Then we had what they call a dig your foxhole, and we'll have a TD, a tank destroyer, going over your foxhole while you're in there, see how strong it was. Well, at that time, I had mine on the end, and everybody else built it, but they all ran in the woods. I didn't know that. I'm down there like this, hanging underneath there. So the tank destroyer came around on all the things there. There was nobody in them. They came on, they spun around, and everything came down on top of me. I was like buried alive. Jeez, so I got my helmet off some way or another. Some way or another, I got it out, I got my head up, and I'm yelling, help, help. And everybody from the woods came. I says, did you guys get in a foxhole? Oh no, we ran in the woods. So I got 2 days off anyhow for possible sickness or harm.
After your training in North Carolina, did you go anywhere else? Or?
Well, we transferred out of the 78th Division, and I was transferred into the 4th Division, 4th Infantry Division. Okay. And I've become a rifleman in a F Company second squad.
Okay. Where did you go to any additional training, or did you head over to Europe from there?
The only training we had was in Alabama, I think it was down there someplace. But then we went up to Camp Shanks right away, and we were shipped overseas.
How did you go overseas? By ship?
Let me see what that ship was. It wasn't a big ship. It was one of them, what do you call them ships that carry the supplies over and everything?
A merchant ship?
Merchant ship. Our whole company went over on a merchant ship. Why, I don't know. We went over there to England. We hit
Did you
England.
go in a convoy?
Yeah, like a convoy, merchant ships and you know, destroyers protecting us.
Right. Okay, so you went to England. When did you arrive in England? Do you remember?
You mean the exact date?
Well, no, year before D-Day?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I was there before D-Day. And then there in 1943 I was there. Spent 1 year or 6 months up in Hull, Scotland. Then I came back down into towards Southampton, towards the embarkation areas.
Now, did you receive any specialized training while you were in England at all?
No, just infantryman training for rifle shooting and like you go underneath the machine gun fire and stuff like that, underneath the wires and stuff like that.
Did you get much, were you met with the English people at all?
Oh yeah, I jumped around with them and everything.
Yeah, how did you get along with the English population?
And not too hot. Not too hot. I don't know, they were sort of bitter. The people were. The soldiers were good, but the people were, well, I don't want to go no further into that.
Okay. Were you ever there during any of the air raids? Or,
No, not in that area, because we were way north of it. We were way up in Scotland area.
Okay, were you involved in the Normandy Invasion?
Oh yeah, yeah, my whole division was.
Okay, could you tell us about that?
Well, we went in on the first wave on Utah Beach. I went in there with about the 17th man going in on the beach. As they went in there, I don't think we only lost about 1-2 guys. That's about it. But we went in with hardly no resistance at all because they landed, I think it was 5 miles down too far. And then when we got there, our division commander, Teddy Roosevelt Jr., the one that died, and he says, well, we'll start from here, and then we started going inland from that beach there on into Monterey, Valone, Saint Vit, all them cities along the coast. And we relieved the 82nd Airborne at St. Mary Glees. We relieved that outfit, and we got them together. And then they came along with us up towards the fighting towards Cherbourg. That was our biggest place we hit. We knocked out all them other places, and then we hit Cherbourg. When we hit Cherbourg, we added house-to-house fighting, stiff resistance, and stuff like that. Then we captured the island of St. Malo. I don't know if you ever heard of it. It was an island right off of Cherbourg. It was loaded with thousands of Germans, but they gave up. All of a sudden, they gave up after some bombardment and everything like that. And when we went in there, we found a cave full of all kinds of whiskey and cognac and wine, everything. I don't know. Everybody could have had 20 cases in the whole division if they wanted to drink it. But we had a few bottles and stuff like that celebrating the capture of Cherbourg. I think they captured about, I don't know how many, over 20,000 Germans in that one island. I don't know. Right there, they just give up.
Now, do you remember how, when you first saw, were you able to see the invasion fleet?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. When we were going towards, you've seen the ones going, and the ones went that one way, and we went this way, and towards Utah, and they went to Omaha. We were lucky. I'm glad we didn't go on to Omaha because they really got slaughtered, them guys. So this fleet was tremendous. I don't know where all them ships came from. I didn't believe we had that many, but they give it to us. They gave us Utah area, and we went in there on Utah.
Did you ever get to see Roosevelt himself?
Oh, Teddy, he came right on the beach with us.
What did you think of him as a commander?
Well, very, very intelligent and very smart. But he he had a bad heart. In fact, I don't think he made it off the beach. I think he died. He died within 2 or 3 weeks after the invasion. He died in, either on Normandy or in England. No, I'm pretty sure it was Normandy, because he had a bad heart. But he went against all deferments, you know, they wanted him to stay home, but he wouldn't stay home. He went in anyhow. And he, you know, he was a good man though. Then I don't know what general took over there to that. I was too busy. We were too busy fighting up along the coast.
Well, could you describe your combat experiences?
Oh yeah, I went into Cherbourg and stuff like that. I never got hit that way, but when I came down, when we captured Cherbourg, then we went down towards the Pierce and Lassay swamps, what they called the Mortants, down around that area there. And the line was at St. Lo, that way area there. The whole line was there, counting the other invasion troops. Now in Mortants, we had to go in and take a little area. But we took the area, and then we had to stay there. Now, during the overnight of the area, the Germans pulled a big counterattack. And as they did, we had to fight there, and we tried to hold them back, which we did hold them back. That's when I got a machine gun in my back, my right leg. I almost had it shot off. And they were dressed up in American uniforms, most of them, the ones that got me.
The Germans?
Yeah, they were dressed up, you know, about a whole squad, a whole company of them were dressed up with American uniforms. That's how they got me. They come in infiltrated, because we thought they were Americans anyhow. And then they started opening fire on us. And when they did, they hit me in the back of the leg and ripped almost the whole thing off. But they got survived. In fact, I think this bump right here, right there, is a bullet wound that shoved the bone right through. But it hurts all the time now. And now the whole leg is starting to hurt. But that's been, well, 50 years, over 50 years that happened. But I've been going down to VA and stuff like that.
Now, after you were wounded, where did you go?
They put me on a Jeep. The counterattack was still doing it. So they got me on a Jeep, a rack on a Jeep, and the Jeep drove down towards out of range. And as I'm going down, the Germans are shooting at this Jeep with burp guns and all kinds of machine guns, and I can feel things going right by me left. You know, you hear a bullet, that sounds like a crack of a whip. Whack, well, you know, you hear it going by you. And all that stuff went by me. And I finally made it back to my, some kind of an area where you get wounds taken care of.
An aid station?
Evacuation, yeah, an aid station. Then I went into the evacuation area in towards Cherbourg, and that's when a colonel came and operated on my back leg, and I was unconscious and everything. When I woke up, I met 3 people from Mechanicville.
Really?
Right at 99 Evacuation Hospital. And I woke up and there was 3 guys surrounding me from Mechanicville. Discharged, Panzillo, and another guy, and DeMicco, a guy named the same as mine, but he was a body work. It's spelled D''A''MICO. They were around my cot there when I got up and I woke up, and they asked me if I wanted anything. I says, I'm hungry, that's all I said. And they brought me back donuts and cakes and coffee.
Now, when were you wounded?
Oh, I was a month and a half after I made the invasion.
So there were Germans in American uniforms at that time?
At that time.
That's interesting.
It's amazing. I couldn't figure it out. So I opened up what I had with my rifle, and I think I shot about 3 of them. Got about 3 of them before I finally, well, I wasn't out, because just the leg wound, but a medic came over and he wrapped me up good. Wrapped up with cellophane, and sulfadiazine pills and stuff like that, and all sulfur around there, and wrapped me up good. And that's why. And
Now, did they take you back to England?
Yes, I went back to England and what the hell's the name of the town? Cortland, was it? I think that it was obliterated anyhow. It was blown right off to the map. And in their area had rehabilitation, about a week, 2 weeks and stuff like that, and in hospitals. And then I finally came back to my outfit, and that's when Patton made the breakthrough with St. Lo. And I wind up in what they call the Prum area, P-R-U-M area, that's the only, the town. We started fighting there towards the Siegfried line and stuff like that. and busted through. And that's when I got blown up again. And I got blown out of my hole, or a little foxhole, and I got what they call a screamy mimi, come over my head and blew up, and there was what they call concussion bombs. And that there lifted me right out of the hole I was in and blew me up right against a tree, and I was bleeding all over the nose. So actually I had 2 wounds, which I turned into the Veterans Administration, and I was bleeding and everything. Then I went back for only a week, 2 weeks, and then I went back to the front lines again. I wind up, finally, they sent me back after about another month in combat, and they were heading towards Germany and that, Czechoslovakia and stuff like that. And they sent me back before. They said I needed more rehabilitation.
Were you, now you listed, were you in the Ardennes?
Yes, we made the Ardennes with the 4th Division. And then I pulled out of that, I think that's where Prum was headed for, was on the outskirts of the Ardennes, the forest. And the 4th Division went in there and cleaned them out with my division there, which was a good, with Patton. We were with Patton. We rode the tanks and everything, and we were at Patton. In fact, I was in the Battle of Bastogne, and when they were surrounded, we went up there with Patton on his tanks and relieved the troops at Bastogne.
Did you ever see Pat?
Oh yeah.
What did you
How can you miss him?
What did you think of Pat?
What they call him, guts and everything, they were true. He was a good general though. He didn't believe in sitting down and digging a hole. He believed in keep going. In fact, we had him in the Fall East Gap. We had him when I first came back from the hospital. That's when I teamed up with him, my division again. We teamed up with him, and he went on a rampage. He's good, no question about it. Smart.
Now, when you went into the Ardennes, did you have winter equipment?
Yes, we had that boots. Let me see what I had regular combat boots, and then they wanted to give out the goulashes. I didn't want them. I didn't want them because a lot of guys were freezing their feet with the goulashes because they would walk with them, they'd sweat, and then when they'd stop, they would freeze. They would get like trench foot or frozen toes and stuff like that. In fact, a lot of them went back with frozen toes. They couldn't swim. So I never wore the goulashes. I kept the combat boots on, which were, all I did was put a rubber thing over, a rubber boot.
Did you have an overcoat?
Oh yeah, OD coat, one of them OD coats. And I did have another coat that one of the quartermaster guys gave me, a big fur-lined coat with buttons, and I wore that during the rest of the campaign.
Did you guys have sleeping bags at all to sleep in?
One blanket, my buddy and me, that's all. One guy, we had 2 blankets. He had one and I had one. He slept in the hole while one guy stood guard, and I stood guard. Then I went down and slept. And the body contact between both of us was warm enough to keep us alive, to keep us warm. And we did have covers over the foxholes, like we built branches and stuff like that, with snow on top of them, camouflaging ourselves. But they were like that, and that's when this other guy, he caught the frozen feet, like I said, because he had the goulashes. So I took his shoes off and everything, goulash off, and I rubbed his feet. We built a little fire inside, heat can, and built that, and sort of and he came back to with his feet, with his frozen feet, yeah.
So he had frostbite?
He had frostbite, but not as bad as the other guys had him. And he stood there with me, and then finally he went back, me and him went back together. That was after they pushed through Bastogne and stuff like that, which was 20 degrees below zero, by the way, in that area at that time. It was that's why a lot of things didn't move. It was so cold and so foggy you couldn't move, and we were in that area there until Patton pushed us up through. Oh, what a man! Blood and guts is right about him.
So you pushed into the Rhineland and into Germany before you were sent to the rear?
I went as far as past the Siegfried line, and that was as far as I went. Then I went back.
How many days of? Well, you did have 2 times you went back when you were wounded. But how long were you in combat from D-Day until when?
Oh, I'd say about 6 months. Because we had 199 days of contact with the 4th Division. I think it tells you right there in that slip there. We were with outfit there until I got hit twice during that drive. And then we went down to what they call Luxembourg. We went down for the first rest since D-Day. And I was with the outfit then. And we went there, I think a week. I think we just got there, and the Germans made the Battle of the push through with their big outfit. And we didn't have no rest at all. We had to go right into combat again down in Luxembourg. We had to go outside of Luxembourg and protect them down there. That's when we got Patton down there with us.
Now, this article you sent us, your unit captured Crossroad 148. Where was that, and why was that so important?
148 was just before Mortans, before we went into Mortans. And the Germans were dug into a hole there. So we surrounded them, we killed the snipers and everything. This was all my outfit, not me, just me. And we killed a sniper that was in the tree to protect the area. And then all of a sudden, we heard this from the rumbles from there, Germans from there, and they stopped fighting after a while, and then we went down into the hole and start capturing, but they gave up. They gave up. After they knew they were beaten, they gave up. And we didn't lose a guy. Well, not one of our men, because we grabbed that sniper before he could kill any one of us. And they were hard to get.
Okay, after now it was shortly after going through the Siegfried line, you were sent back to the rear. Now, what did they do with you there?
Well, they were rehabilitating me up because I've been starting to hear things in my head, starting to wobbly and stuff like that. I wasn't up to par. So he said to finally, he said, we'll send him back to Camp Philip Morris. You know.
And where did you go from there?
Well, after that, we started going back to the state. After the war was over, the war got over, and I was still in one of the rehabilitation camps in France. Or they called them camps then. Camp Philip Morris, Camp Cannerton. They made all kinds of cigarette camps, and that were places for embarkation back to the States.
What was your reaction where were you, and what was your reaction when you heard about the death of President Roosevelt?
The man suffered too much with his paralysis and stuff like that. I felt bad. I felt bad in a way. No. And sometimes I felt a little bitter towards him because we had to go into combat and stuff like that.
How did you feel where were you, and how did you feel when you heard about the surrender of the Germans?
Oh, Christ, I smoked about 4 packs of cigarettes that one day. I was so happy, you know.
Were you in the...
No, I wasn't in combat. I was back
in Philip Morris?
Camp Philip Morris. And we were given, at that time, then they were giving out points. So much and so much for being wounded. I think we got 15 points extra for being wounded. So I picked up 30 points more, and I was almost one of the first to go back to the States.
How did you go back to the States?
By boat. I think on the Queen Mary. What the hell was it? Queen Mary, one of them big ones. One of them big ones. And we went back to the States, shooting crap and everything on this boat. Picked up a few bucks. Hey, at that time everything was wide open and all. And a few souvenirs I had. Pistols, German SS knives, stuff like that.
Did you keep those things?
No, I got rid of them. I gave two to my brother Tony, and let me see, I gave the Luger and the Mauser to a couple of captains there that wanted them, and I didn't want them no more. I did keep a little small Mauser, but I got rid of that.
When were you discharged?
Discharged in Camp Shanks, I go, in March the 14th or something. Let me see, I caught pneumonia, or bronchitis, before I got discharged. And I was supposed to get discharged on December the 14th, but they kept 1945. But they kept me another month in the Camp Shanks because I had to take penicillin because I had a cold. And at that time, penicillin was like fluid. It ran right through your body, you know. And I had to stay there. They had to give me 24 shots of penicillin to clear my infection, bronchitis and stuff like that. And then I met my brother in one restaurant there, and we were getting discharged together. I met my oldest brother.
Now, what branch of service was he in?
He was in the Air Force up in Alaska. He was in the Air Force. Tony was in the Navy in England, PBY outfit, and Ironman was with the 104th Timberwolf Division. This guy, that was their patch, 104th Timberwolf. He got captured. He was 9 months prisoner of war.
Okay, when you returned home, did you ever make use of the GI Bill?
Yes. I went to Veterans Vocational School in Troy. I became a body and fender man. And after 2 years down there, I got my diploma and everything. And 2 years down there, then I went to work for Harry Clements as a body man. And after 2 years with him, on the job training, and then I went regular working. I asked him for a raise, and he says he couldn't do it, so he got rid of me. So after he got my 2 years so I went to see Jack Troy. Got a job down there with Jack Troy. And I asked him for a raise because I said I'm a pretty good expert body and fender man. Well, he wanted to punch me. Jack Troy was a fighter anyhow. He wanted to punch me in the jaw, so I had to get rid of him. I came back home and worked odds and ends body and fender work until I had to give it up. The state made me give it up on kind of the thinner poisoning. I was getting thinner poisoning, and I had to give it up, and I was getting blotches all over me.
Did you ever make use of the 5220 club?
Yes, I collected for 1 year, and I went to work. I worked odd jobs before working tree conservation day. I had to cut brushes underneath the high tension wires.
Did you join any veterans organizations?
I belong to the DAV and the VFW.
You still belong to them?
Oh yeah,
Active?
I'm a
okay.
life member of the DAV, and I pay every year for the VFW.
Did you ever stay in contact with anyone that you served with?
I don't know. I never got their names half the time. They come in and go. You don't even, hi Bill, Joe, or something like that. That's it. But I never got, only I think one guy, and he went way out in Oregon someplace, and I still don't remember his name. Got in contact. All them guys, most of my friends were either dead or gone.
How do you think your service affected your life or changed your life in any way? Do you think it did?
Well, I think it did change my life when it comes to working on the railroad, that they wouldn't take servicemen with disabilities. And I would have had 45 years up there, because I worked in the roundhouse at the time. I worked for the railroad, and I had an argument with all the big shots up there, and after they found out that Chrissy turned me in about my disability. And then I lost my job then.
Could you hold this in front of you and tell us when that was taken and where that was taken?
Oh my God.
When and where was that taken?
This was taken up in Sicilianos.
What is that? What was that?
That was a bar room where Sicilianos were taking pictures of all servicemen at that time. I think this was taken in March of 1943 or 44, before we went overseas. We had a furlough when we came home, and they took pictures of all us guys.
Now this is a tavern here in Mechanicville?
It was a tavern. It's not no
yeah.
more. It's disappeared. It was up on top of the hill up there.
Okay. And how about these other two photographs?
These were painted.
Why don't you hold those up in front of, well, the one photograph from the painting.
This is my brother Armin, and this is my brother Tony, the professional fighter. And this painting was done by Japan. My brother Tony, while he was still in the service, he had this painting done, and that painting on the wall done by the Japanese. And this here was when he was fighting in 1947 and 48. This picture was taken about 48, when he was out of the service. Then he decided to quit boxing and join the Army. That's when he went in
You said he served in the Navy during the war.
Yeah, Navy before this picture was taken. During the war, he was 4 years in England. And then this picture was from after he went into the boxing field, and he was a fighter, and after getting about 87 fights and then giving it up, he became a U.S. Army man. He joined the U.S. Army.
And he stayed in there for
26 years.
26 years. All right, now your other brother, he
You
was in
know,
what
name
unit?
Army, this was, he was in the Timberwolf Division, 104th Timberwolf Division. He went in combat in Le Havre. That division went in there on the first day. About a week while he was in there, he went on a patrol with seven-man patrol. The way I got it from the guy from Army when he told me when he was alive, he told me that they blew up, they shelled that seven-man patrol. The shell hit right in the middle of them, and they killed 4 of them, and they captured 3 of them. Him, the sergeant, and another guy. And then that's when they captured and they put him in. He was in the prison for 9 months. How long, when he got out, I don't know.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Well, these are the good conduct medals. And this here is, this is the conduct, and this is European Theater of Operations.
If you hold them up to the camera.
This is a good conduct in European Theater of Operations. And
Army of Occupation.
Army of Occupation right here. Well, it was in Germany at the time. They had the Army of Occupation. That came after the war, you know. And this here, this is the Liberty Medal. Yeah. What this was for, I don't know, but let me see.
That's one transcend for those.
Yeah, that's right. That's what it was.
D-Day, right?
Yeah, I got the papers on all this stuff here anyhow, in this billfold. And well, that's a conspicuous service medal that was presented by Governor Cuomo. He gave it to most of all of combat veterans that was in there in the service.
Okay.
And that's my Purple Heart. This is the Purple Heart I got when I received by General Eisenhower gave me this when I was in England at the time.
Oh, he presented it to
Yeah,
you personally?
yeah,
Oh.
Yeah. And the Bronze Star was given to me by over here by who the heck give me this here? Oh, the veterans gave me this medal down in the hospital. They gave me this here medal. I was presented that when I was rehabilitating down at Veterans Hospital. We were given the Bronze Star then.
Well, where did you receive it, though?
In the hospital.
Why?
During the battle of during that combat without taking a soldier, without losing a man.
Oh, at the Crossroads?
Yeah, that's when at the Crossroads. But they didn't give it to me until I was in the hospital.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Yes.
You're
thank you.
welcome.